Hello, and welcome back to the channel, The Pro Work Method, where we discuss concepts and ideas from my book, Happiness and Well-Being Through Balance and Progress, The Pro Work Method. Do you have creative projects that are not getting done? In other words, do you have some creative pet projects? Maybe you're a songwriter, maybe you're a recording artist. Maybe you are, some other type of visual artist. Maybe you are a woodwork guy, like you build cabinets, or, you make custom decks and fencing and things for your yard. You maybe have a talent for a number of different things where you actually use your creativity and you do your creative projects. And for some reason or another, it's been quite some time since you got one of these done, or maybe years have gone by and you've had a pet project in your mind, or think of yourself as an artist in some way, but are just not getting any projects done. And that's more common than you think. Anyway, let's get to changing that today with some pretty nuts and bolts ideas about how to address that problem. John Lennon has a line in his song Beautiful Boy. He wrote a song about his son, Julian Lennon, and he has the line in the song where he says, "Life is what happens to you while you're busy making other plans." And for the most part, I think that can be true a lot of the time. And we could probably talk about that concept itself for days. But what we're going to talk about today is kind of a simple process to getting your hands around that, so that actually what is happening in your life and what you are getting done, does relate to what it is you want to do. And first of all, you have a pet project, you have an important project or some idea of something that you want to accomplish that you're just not getting done. It's usually because you suggest you have no time. And that's pretty widely the biggest excuse for people not getting their pet projects done, or not getting their creative projects done, or anything that it is you're wanting to get done, that's new, something you're not doing all the time in your schedule, or something you might have mastered this thing years ago, and you think, I became a good writer, I want to write a book someday, but now it's 5 years later, you haven't written the book, and you don't even have a start on it. You can't even find the last time you made notes on it. And, these type of things, happen to everybody. But what I'm just going to suggest this one concept here today, and that is that small contributions of time on a very regular basis beat larger contributions of time, either intermittently or very intermittently. So, for instance, I'm going to suggest in this video that any project that you have that you're just the reason you're actually watching this video is because when you read that title, do you have a project you're not getting done? You thought, that's me. I want to know how to get that done. So I'm just going to suggest something right now. Pencil this thing into your schedule for 15 minutes a day. 15 minutes a day that you don't compromise on. Now, I don't care what anybody says and how busy anyone's schedule is. I've never met a person who in their life couldn't spare 15 minutes a day. As a matter of fact, now I've seen so many people that, while they're getting coffee, at Starbucks or walking down the street, literally just spend 15 minutes, scrolling on their phone between appointments. We all do it. But, the concept here is that 15 minutes is something you can actually commit to. If you put that in your day, in 1 year, how much time will you have spent on your creative project or an important project? 91 hours. Now, right away, I'll have people saying to me the things that I hear all the time. Well, you know what, Ron, I'd rather do 2 hours once a week than 15 minutes a day, because 2 hours I really get to get into it. And then if you push it further and say, well, how's that working out? Let's say for the last 6 weeks, how did that go? Well, in the last 6 weeks, I didn't actually have time to do the 2 hours. Okay. So talk to me in a few weeks and, get into it and let me know how it's going. Talk to them in a few weeks down the road. You might run into them again. Talk to them again 2 months down the road. How did that go with the 2 hours? Well, actually went great. Had a couple good sessions there in 5 weeks. Kind of was missing every other week, and then I missed 2 weeks. So 5-6 weeks, I did get 2 hours done. But when you're doing that inconsistent effort of the 2 hours, you have all that setup time. You have all that, where was I in this project? You have all that, gee, I'm using a little bit of tech here. I'm writing and I'm using a computer program to help, that I write into. For instance, I'm writing a script and I have a computer program like Trelby, which is free actually. And it helps me to actually put my script in a script format. And even though it doesn't take very long to learn how to use it, if I'm using it 15 minutes a day, I don't even think about how to use it. I learn in the first few sessions how to use it, and then I just put in my 15 minutes every day, and the program almost runs itself. It's like skateboarding when you're a kid. You look back and you think, gee, the skateboard went by itself. Try pushing it down the road now. Anyway, getting back to the Trelby idea, or any little bit of technology you're using, and you're using it 15 minutes a day, you're doing it without thinking. Now, leave it for 4 weeks, come back to it. Oh, I can't remember how to jump from line to line. I've got to get out the program again. I've got to get out the manual again. I've got to do these kinds of things. And this is what happens when things are done inconsistently. Again, for that person that's saying, I'd rather do the 2 hours a day, you can actually still schedule that if you want to. Like if you're literally thinking, wow, I'm at a part in this project where, 2 hours a day is not too much to ask. I'm going to do it once a week. I'm going to do the 2 hours. Well, great. Put that in your schedule, but put in the 15 minutes a day. That 15 minutes a day is going to, again, that's the 91 hours a year. Again, when's the last time you put 91 hours into a project of yours in 1 year? That 91 hours is going to have continuity. It's going to have consistency. And the difference between consistency and intermittently working on something is that consistency ensures that there is a finish date down the road where, wow, I accomplished that. I got it done. And inconsistency almost assures you that probably there is no finish date down the road, because as your inconsistent efforts go on and they're more and more intermittent, you become more and more discouraged, and then someday it never even comes back. I can think of I'm going to come up with a couple of examples here how small contributions over time, can really surprise you. The first one I'm going to come up with is really odd. Think about coffee cups. I don't know if I travel around a lot during my day, lots of times. When I'm working away at things or whatever, I have to tend to be a lot of places to do things. And so on the way, I'll stop and get a cup of coffee through a drive-through in a paper cup. And so, I have a good plan that when I'm done that coffee and I get out of the car, I'm going to throw that cup in the garbage. But what happens once in a while is that, I don't have time and I'm rolling on to the next thing. And so I'd finish the coffee and there's no drops. And I just throw the cup on the floor in the passenger side over there. And then, of course, later that day or the following day, you just say, oh, God, I need a coffee here. I'm traveling around. I want one. Go through a drive-through, get a coffee. Well, today I'll just throw the coffee cup down there because I haven't taken that one out yet. And then, when I take out that cup, I'll take out this cup. I'll take out both cups. But, interestingly, what happens there happens to me, happens to some people. I know it doesn't. Some people are so tidy it never happens to them. They take every last coffee cup every time, and that's actually good. And and who knows? In other ways, maybe there's the old saying, "Who knows what is good or bad." I think that's a Buddhist saying, actually. But if you actually go forward on that, it's amazing how if you don't take those coffee cups out of there, it seems like it's been a few days. You don't know whether you get into a week or two. And I don't know at what moment it happens. It happens pretty quick. But suddenly you look over there and you literally have 1.5 feet of coffee cups and they're piling up to the seat. And you go, wow, I've got to stop and make a job and take these coffee cups out of here. And that whole thing was not to say whether it's a good idea to throw your coffee cups in your car or not. The whole thing was to say that little bit of a contribution all the time, over time, comes up with a really amazing amount of contribution. Imagine if those coffee cups had been a few bucks that you've been putting in the bank over time. Imagine if those coffee cups had been a very consistent effort on one of your creative projects, or one of your pet projects around your house, or one of your pet projects that you had in mind, for one of your family members, or something that was really important, for you to accomplish. I once played a lot of music with a musician who taught me a lot of things over the years, a very talented guy. This is going back when I was a lot younger, and I not only played with the guy live a number of times and ended up playing with him a couple of years, but when I was quite young, I played in some recording projects with him. And the guy was able to teach me so much. He knew so much about sound and so much about recording, and he knew so much about equipment. And honestly, he knew so much about all of it that probably the basis of my knowledge about those topics these days, which I feel pretty comfortable in those areas, came from actually playing music and projects and things with this gentleman. But one of the things that I discovered about him over the years was that for all his fantastic talent playing, and all his great talent writing, and all his great talent recording, and all his great talent of sound, and all the great talents he had, from year to year, he was not getting any recordings done. I mean, sometimes over the course of a year or two, so what have you recorded lately? Well, I did this one song, or this two, or I'm working on one. So I kept that in mind one time when I was at one of those parts of my life where I thought, I wanted to improve my writing and recording in music, because I'm also a musician. And I kept that in mind, and I thought, that idea of he always had a plan that when his schedule loosened up, or when he got a certain thing done, or he got a certain piece of equipment built, or when he has a certain vacation, or whatever, that he was going to do all of this recording. And for most of the time, at a certain point over years, he did accomplish some, and so that's great. He was already accomplished in so many areas that it was able to influence me, that was great. But for the idea that he consistently wanted to record songs, and he did not ever consistently get that done, for him that was not great. And so the year that I thought, this year I want to record some songs, and I want to improve at my writing, I want to improve at my recording, and that type of thing. I took that into mind. I thought, okay, I was working in a business then where I typically went into work around 10 o'clock every morning, which sounds late, but that's because I typically got home around 10 o'clock every night. So a 12-hour day was pretty consistent. And but it gave me that opportunity to either be in for 10 or go in at 10, and basically put my 8, 9, or 10 hours in from there. And so what I decided to do, I thought, for the next couple of months, I am going to get up and go downstairs to my recording setup at 8 o'clock in the morning. I'll get up at 7, I'll get ready, I'll get cleaned up. But before I even go out the door to my office or do any of that, I'm just going to go down there at 9 o'clock in the morning, and just for 8 o'clock in the morning, and for 2 hours a day, 8 till 10. Now, that was 2 hours. That's a big commitment outside of the 15 minutes. But that's something that I really wanted to do. And also, I really wanted to do it for a period of about 3 months. So you could see the beginning of it. You could see the end of it. And, it was just something I set out to do. So I actually did do that for the 3 months. And what happened was quite astounding, because, first of all, I took some of the songs that I'd written, and in those 2 hours, I recorded the first song, which took me probably about a week, of 2 hours a day. And you think, okay, and I was doing it like 5 days a week. So I put in about, 10 hours there. And I tracked all the songs in the multi-track recording unit. I played all the instruments, and I was able to demo up a pretty nice version of a song in a week. And I thought, that's great. So if I do this for, 3 months, I should be able to do, maybe 8 to 10, to 12 songs. But what actually ended up happening over the time period that I put that effort in is I got quicker at running the recording equipment. I got better and quicker at coming up with arrangements. I got better and quicker at doing one take on all my instruments because I was actually playing every day, recording every day, and doing that project every day. And so what ended up happening was, at the end of the 3 months, I actually had more like about 20 songs. I'm trying to think, I had 20, 21 songs, something like that, in about 12 weeks. That's almost getting up to 2 songs a week. The interesting thing is the first one probably took a week and the second one probably took 6 days. And it went down very incrementally slowly on how long it took me to record each one of those things. But I'll tell you, the last couple songs I literally did the last one in one day from start to finish in 2 hours. I was just like, okay, here's an arrangement I already have. I'm going to lay down my rhythm track. I'm going to do this. I'm going to do that. I just knocked off all the tracks. And in one day, in 2 hours, I did the last song. And, I was playing it for people I was in a band with. One of the guys owned a studio. I'd be bringing it in. I was like, what do you think of this? He's like, well, this is one of your best recordings yet. I said, can you believe that 3 months ago I did that song that took me a week, basically, 10 hours to track a song by myself where I'm playing all the parts that I, roughly have an idea already how they go. And then suddenly I was able to record the whole thing in 2 hours, after 3 months of effort. So that's one of those things that, there's a curve to it. There's a learning curve. You're not trying to remember how to run your equipment every day. You're not trying to remember how to, what the parts are every day. You get hot on a thing because you're doing it. Now, that's 2 hours a day, and that was an example that I, people don't say, oh, gee, now I'm going to go from doing nothing a day on my creative projects to I'm going to do 2 hours a day. No, do 15 minutes a day. If you have time outside of that you want to put in your schedule, and you could intermittently, maybe you'll do it, and maybe you won't. But if you consistently do that 15 minutes a day, that project's getting done one of these days. I actually talked to another person I know, a lady who's a good friend of mine, and one of her accomplishments in her life that she always wanted to do and was able to do was she completed a master's degree for university in adult education. And I thought, wow, master's degree, that takes a lot of commitment. She actually did the final year of the master's degree while she was actually back at work, in a full-time job, and was also a single mother of 2 at the time. And, I've seen people do these kinds of accomplishments over the years, and I go, wow, it really takes a lot of time. Like, the reading alone, people read a ton of books for their masters, and I think, how did you do that? How did you manage to get all of that accomplishment, into a reasonable amount of time? Obviously, it took a little bit longer than if she had just gone full-time for the whole thing beginning to end. But she did do some of the full-time portion. And then there was a portion she wasn't going to be able to do full-time because life is what happens to you while you're busy making other plans. And you have to go back to your work and, continue on looking after your family and pay your bills and that type of thing. And she said, well, there was this massive reading list. And while I was going to work every day, I was taking the bus at the time there and back. And I thought, I'm just going to, on the bus every day, I'm going to do my reading, my required reading. And apparently in a time period over that last year she worked on it, she was able to do an incredible amount of reading. It didn't cut into her work time, didn't cut into her home time, didn't cut into her writing her master's time. She was able to do that. That just gives you another example of consistent efforts, small consistent efforts over regular time is going to be the winner all the time. So that's the tip that we have for you today. Now, if you think, I love the tip, but, on this project, it's been so long since I did it that I don't even know if I can get into the 15 minutes and the negative self-talk gets going. And as you know on this channel, in the Pro Work method, we have a solution for that too. And so we have a mantra that you can say over in your mind to put those negative thoughts out of your head so you can put that 15 minutes into your schedule and get your project done. And that mantra is, I am a unique being, separate from my situation. I possess the godlike power of creativity, and I choose the power of creativity and thankfulness over fear, apprehension or anxiety every minute of every day. So say that mantra, put that 15 minutes a day in your schedule, complete your project. Your project probably won't even take 91 hours. Maybe by the end of this year, you'll be on the second project. In the last few years, you didn't complete the project. When you complete your project, when you're making headway in your project, please leave comments here at the ProWork Method. If I was able to help with any of that, with these methods from the book, Happiness and Well-Being Through Balance and Progress, the ProWork Method, available on Amazon. Thanks and have a great day.